Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today, another cable TV network shutting down, this time a major sports network. There's some rumblings that one of the biggest sports networks out there has a very uncertain future amidst new rights deals that could strip it of content. Also, would you pay more for streaming, or would you go back to Comcast or Spectrum if it saved you money? We asked many of our readers that. I'll tell you what they said. It may surprise you. And the FCC wants to make internet more widely available by using internet from space by freeing up more bandwidth. We'll tell you what's happening with these stories and a whole lot more in a quick second. First though, if you want to learn more about this, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. We post videos like this every single day with news, reviews, tips, and more all about the world of cord cutting and more. All right, let's dive into it. The NBA has a new TV rights deal coming up next season, so later this fall, in the 2025-2026 season. With this, you'll see a lot more games on things like Amazon and other streaming services. This raised a big question about the future of NBA. Now, TNT and its parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery, is losing NBA rights for TNT. They're also the company that runs the NBA TV. Did you know Warner Bros. Discovery was the powerhouse behind that? Well, they are now raising, or there's a lot of talk about what their future for it is. Several different news organizations have reported now that, there's not a lot of games left, if any, for the NBA. NBA TV has in the past aired tons of games. Increasingly, though, those games have been moving to more and more networks with this. The NBA TV's playoff games average just a little bit more than 545,000. Which, okay, 545,000, I wish I was getting those views. But when you compare that to the millions you get on major networks and millions you get for other sports like NFL and college football, you can see why many are wondering why NBA TV is doing this. Now, with the new deal, Monday NBA, you'll see Monday night NBA games on Peacock. You will also see Tuesday NBC and Peacock games, Wednesday ESPN games, Thursday Amazon games, Friday on Amazon or ESPN, Saturdays on ABC, and Sundays on NBC and Peacock. That's a lot of content going to other networks. Plus, some of these games will air on regional sports networks for the local teams in market games. So what do we do with NBA TV? Well, according to reports out there from Sports Media Watch, John Lewis there says that this leaves the NBA with very little content, potentially regarding it to a handful of Thursday night or weekend games during the football season when those networks are busy doing other things. There's also been reports out there that basically NBA executives don't exactly know what to do. Widespread layoffs are expected and other cuts to NBA TV. Many are expecting, as part of a cost-cutting initiative, they may get rid of it to focus on things like their free channel that airs on Pluto TV and other services, or grow the content, some of these shows on things on other networks. Inside the NBA is moving from TNT to ESPN, for example, and see things like growth of the NBA's YouTube channel and other social media ones to cover content. Now, this comes as many reports have shown that increasingly many Americans are dishing traditional cable sports networks for YouTube and other social media to get just the sports they want. Why spend an hour watching a Sports Center type broadcast to maybe get 3 minutes of coverage of your team's game that night as you look for highlights of it, when you could just jump on YouTube and watch a 20-minute supercut of all your favorite highlights of your team's performance over the last week or so. Because of that, many people are speculating the days of NBA TV are limited, and if it does survive, I would say probably not for long, it'll be a shell of what it once was. We'll keep an eye on it, but as sports networks, NBA TV is probably the one to keep an eye on the most with this new TV deal. There's not a lot for it left. It could definitely be cut and that content spread out across other networks and things like free streams on Pluto TV, YouTube, and more. All right, next story up. Would you go back to Comcast or Spectrum if it saved you money? We asked our readers that, and 89% of you said no. If you would save 10 or 15 bucks going back to Comcast or Spectrum, you would not. Now, a few things here. One is, we heard from some people, is just, hey, I feel so mistreated by them, is kind of how I would sum up how some people talked to us about it over the years and recently, is that I would happily switch to another service, even if it cost me more money, just to have nothing to do with them ever again. I think years of bad customer service is coming back to bite many of these companies, real or otherwise. You know, sometimes, you know, these companies have done their best, but the perception is they don't care about you. But also the fact that, let's be honest, even if you go back to Comcast, it's not like you're going to ditch these streaming services. That's why you see things like Spectrum bundling a lot of them in now. But again, the price of that keeps going up a little bit every year. Let's be honest. We just talked about the NBA. These games are going to be on Amazon and Peacock. Well, you can't get that with many cable TV packages or satellite packages. Why go back to Comcast? Are you getting Amazon included with that? No. So you're still going to have to go subscribe to Amazon and probably subscribe to Peacock to get all the NBA games. Keep an eye on that. Let me know. Would you go back to Comcast or Spectrum if it would save you money? I'd love to hear from you. We talked about a little bit last week about how the FCC wanted to open up regulations and stuff to improve some performance of space-based internet from like Starlink from SpaceX and Amazon's new one. They just successfully last week put a group of satellites in space to start building its network to offer high-speed internet from low Earth orbit. Now the FCC is proposing rulemaking to explore the expanded use of the 12.7 through 13.25 gigahertz and the 42 to 42.5 gigahertz bands. That's not important here, but what is important is they would offer more bandwidth to these satellite internet companies to allow them to offer high-speed internet to Americans. Not just people in rural areas, but people who travel and all kinds of different usage for internet everywhere. With these networks, the dream of literally connectivity everywhere you have a line of sight to the sky is quickly becoming a reality in many areas. But we'll see. FCC seems to be very driven, and I know Starlink will get a lot of this, but there's others out there, including Amazon, who would benefit from this also. All right, next story up in TV history this week. 77 years ago over the weekend, CBS Evening News was launched 77 years ago in 1984. They launched, becoming the longest running evening news program on television. Somebody commented that Meet the Press was older. I saw some conflicting news on it. Leave me a comment. Did I get a date wrong or something there? Leave me a comment. But as far as evening news on a regular evening basis on major network, CBS's Evening News for television first launched 77 years ago this week, creating a news bonanza, let's call it, that leads to today's 24/7 news world, not just on cable television, but on the internet and all over. All right, next up, in our last story of the day, I thought this one was very interesting. Amazon has a new feature to make it easier to know when things are frequently returned. About a year and some ago, Amazon started putting warnings on product pages about frequently returned products. They later added one that said frequently kept for products that were rarely returned. The problem was you kind of had to scroll down and be looking for it. Well, to address that, Amazon recently has redone their product pages to put this warning about frequently returned products directly above the price in a big red letter or a big red box with red exclamation mark there, to warn you about frequently returned products. Now, it really does not go into why these products are being returned. They just say, hey, this product has a higher than average return rate compared to what we would expect, basically. Amazon, I'm sure, is using an automated math system that just says, hey, you know, we always get some people buy a product, maybe it is defective. There's always a certain number of products that are defective, no matter how hard you try. But that should be very, very low. Maybe people return products also because they bought it, thought it would solve their need, and it did not. But when that crawls outside the normal range of a relatively low percentage, Amazon now puts this on there, and I absolutely love it. Many people had said, hey, well, what about why? Because when you read the reviews, sometimes it's hard to figure out why that product was returned. And that's a good question. Amazon doesn't really say why. You kind of have to look at it yourself. Now, often it can just be because of poor understanding of the product. People buy it because they think it will solve a particular need, or maybe they understand the size of it or something about it, and just ended up buying the wrong product because they just bought it without doing enough research. That's very possible. It's also possible that they have higher than normal defects. Amazon doesn't really tell you that. People return this because, hey, this shirt is a little bit smaller than many people expected and it ends up being the wrong size and you should buy a bigger one. They try to communicate the best they can, but in these warnings, they don't say that. So check it out. I do love that Amazon's putting this in the higher placement on the page and trying to help you understand, is this going to be a good product or not. And the good news is maybe this will force companies to be a little bit more careful in the products they sell if they know that Amazon will flag products that are low quality, that are often returned. Because let's be honest, you get your money back, but Amazon lost the shipping, the employee time, they have to reprocess it and deal with it. There's a real cost here. Amazon would rather you just not buy products that are high return because it costs them money. All right, that's it for today. Hope you have a fantastic day. Mother's Day is coming up. Friendly reminder to all those guys out there, make sure you get something for your wife if you have kids. Also, don't forget about your mom for everybody. Here or not, it's a special week to remember our parents. I'm always internally grateful for my mom, who has done so much for me and my kids and been a huge supporter. Well, that's it for today. Oh, quick story. Well, I'll throw a little story. One of the big moments in Court Cars News history was because of my mom. We were very small, just getting started in the first year, had an opportunity to go to the Consumer Electronics Show and meet some companies like Roku and others. I wasn't going to do it. It was kind of a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, I'm just a small fry, but I had an opportunity to go. She encouraged me to go, and I did. I ended up making relationships with some different companies. Roku at that meeting agreed to put us on their embargo list to give us early look at news stories. And it was a huge success for Court Cars News. Now, it's one of those moments you look back and say, yeah, that was a great idea because I built relationships. Got reviewed products and more. Got embargoes from that meeting. So a huge thank you to my mom for pushing me to go do that. I'm sure you have a similar story at some point, a parent in your life or some other person who has kind of helped mentor you, who has pushed you maybe to do something you didn't want to do that ended up being a really good idea. There's a little story from my mom and how she had impacted Court Cars News. Well, that's it for today. Take care. Be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.